Now to discuss is Mark Zandi. He is the chief economist at Moody's who helped work on this report. Thanks for being with us today. So we know that cities use their sources of revenue, tax revenues, to create their budgets. I guess my question is, what sources of tax revenues are most likely to be the hardest hit, Mark?
Sales taxes, all those tourists that you talked about that aren't coming to cities, that's a lot of sales tax revenue. Income tax, so people aren't working. They're working less hours. They're suffering pay cuts, so that means less income tax revenue. The one thing that's holding up, at least at the moment, is property tax revenue. Obviously, that's tied to the price for homes and commercial real estate values, and that's going to take a bit of time to work through. It will. Eventually, those prices will come down. That'll hit property tax revenue, but that's something for another day. So right now, it's about sales and income taxes.
Mark, it doesn't seem like there's been a ton of reporting on this issue from municipalities. Maybe it's because, as you point out in this report, it hasn't been impacted or it hasn't been felt just yet. For people who live in these cities, what might we start to see trickle down as far as services that might be cut off or that sort of thing? How might this actually affect people at home?
Well, it already is. I mean, state governments and local governments have already laid off 1.3 million workers. That's teachers, it's fire, police, emergency responders, hospital workers. And so people are going to feel that when they need those services, when they need that help, it's just not going to be as easy to get at. And then we're going to see other services start to get cut back or impaired, everything from trash service to sewer and water and all the gazillion things that government does for us that we take for granted, really, until we lose it. And when we lose it, we really feel it because these are necessary things. They're not luxuries. These are things that we need to just live our daily lives.
Mark, because everything revolves around New York City and in a New Yorker's mind, how long is it going to take for New York to come back to where it was?
Tyler, I think this is a game changer for New York. I think it's going to be diminished by it. Now, don't get me wrong. I mean, I think New York is a world-class, vibrant city, always will do well, but it is it's going to do less well 5, 10, 15 years from now as a result of all of this. I think a lot does, though, depend on how we approach globalization. I mean, New York is a global city. It relies on global trade, immigration, foreign investment. Of course, border walls all over the world have gone up as governments have been trying to protect their populations from the virus. A lot depends on getting those proverbial border walls down again and getting trade back up in tourism, travel, all the things that make New York great. So hopefully future policymakers work hard to re-engage with the rest of the world and get us allow for more big cities to globalize, and then New York will be okay. But, there's a lot of headwinds here, and I fear that New York will be diminished by that, by all this in the long run.
And Mark, to that point, are there certain areas that stand to benefit the worst or benefit the most? Or, we just heard you say New York City, but Robert also mentioned that people are moving to Connecticut and moving to the Hamptons. And so might some municipalities actually benefit from this?
Yeah, in the long run, I mean, there's going to be a lot of juggling around, shifting around. Work from home is real. It's a fundamental shift. I can't imagine going back to working the way I did before all this. And I know many others won't either. So, that will have lots of implications. It's a process. It's not going to be a game-changing event. It's not like the whole world is changing and that's the end of it. It's going to be a process over time. But, yeah, there will be some parts of the country that do benefit from this, and some parts of the country that don't. Urbanized areas, big global urban centers, they're more at risk. Other parts of the country where costs are lower, living is a bit easier. There's not as much traffic or commute times. Schools are good. Those areas will benefit.
Okay, it certainly will be an interesting thing to watch. Thank you, Mark. Appreciate you being with us today. That's Mark Zandi.
Yep, sure thing.